7:02. We all can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rory, did we have any public comment come in?
I did not receive any.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the October 22nd, 2020 special meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Rob Finley, second by Al Bruno. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Nays? Motion, chair votes aye. Pass. Okay. First, Selectmen's report. I'm kind of busy in the last 26 days that I've been in office. It's kind of crazy. This COVID thing is ramping up. So I'm going to talk about that real fast or real quick on that one. As we know, the community center is closed for classes. The only thing we're doing is drive-through and virtual classes. The rec is not open to the public. The library is curbside pickup only. The Seymour schools are now closed until January 21st, 2021. Superintendent Wilson put out a letter. The numbers are rising, and we are asking everyone to keep wearing the masks, keep with the social distancing, washing your hands, and to use common sense when the holidays are coming, especially with Thanksgiving. We are cleaning the fire department, the police departments, and the ambulance. Again, we're taking that on. We've gone back to our public safety meetings on every Thursday before we kind of cancel them back to once every 2 weeks just to get brought up. So as we see the numbers go up, the numbers are coming down. We're taking this very seriously and want to make sure everybody stays safe during these times. The road projects for the year are coming to an end as the asphalt plants are closing down. Holbrook Road, we're just waiting on the easements from the town of Oxford as well as the DEP. The Route 67 project, it's a spot improvement project on Route 67 from Claridis Plaza all the way down to River Street. That is about to take place in about 18 months. Construction is going to start on that. The federal government is paying 80% of that, and the state will pay the remaining 20%. So it will cost no monies to the town of Seymour. And what they're going to be doing is widening the road, Route 67 area from Stop and Shop up to the Claridis Plaza, plus doing some revamping of over by McDonald's, not being able to take that left turn. I'm going to have them come in and give a presentation to our board next spring so that everybody is up to date as the construction gets closer. We've been very busy in the ordinance committee. The ordinance committee met last night. We are taking it and going through section by section. There are some committees that we found that we don't need. There are some commissions that we know that we can put with other commissions. One of the committees we don't need is a safety committee in our charter, our ordinance, because OSHA oversees that. And we have one already in place in the town. So we don't have to have that in our ordinance. That's just one of the things. We are actually in our next meeting, we'll be looking at the EDC, strategic planning, and then the municipal erosion are one of the next few sections of the ordinance that we're going to be looking at. That's all I have for now on that. Okay. So item 6 on the agenda is the discussion with the facilities director, Tim Connors. Hi, Tim.
Good evening, everybody. I'll just give you a quick update of past projects we have going on, and then I'll answer any questions that anybody may have. Past projects, we had the nozzle project, which we had SCG come in and do a third-party commissioning report to go over what was done, how it was done, and they came back with about 100-item review of about 100 different items that they went through, and they looked at every aspect of how it ran, how it was installed, and everything, which I don't know if everybody has a copy of that report. If not, we could get that to you. if you require it. A few of the items that were found were, small items, but that made it, a big impact on certain things, like where the town hall, the boiler exhaust, it went to a little window well area, which they found that, it's sucking in exhaust air as the fresh air. So that has to be taken care of. There's a bunch of little things like dampers and stuff like that, but what we did is we had them go through the whole project, how it was laid out, what was done. And then they're going to come back with a report on, what we should do to bring it up to, how it should be exactly, and make it run as efficient as possible. That's pretty much our BAS projects. Projects we have going on now, Johnson Control. About a month ago, you guys went ahead and approved putting that project back into the scope. They started on the roofs. So we have the roofs that are, Bungay's almost wrapped up right now. They're just finishing the aluminum around the edges. The high school, they're probably about a week and a half out right now. Solar has been started on the middle school. They started with that already on Monday. And then they're just gonna follow through, and they're gonna be into the parking lot areas and the rest of the schools probably by next week. That's pretty much it. Everything else is pretty much wrapped up for Johnson Controls. They sent through their company, which I did a walkthrough with them also, to each project that they did touch, just to review and make sure everything was done as per specs. So that they should send us a report on that. Probably another 2 weeks before we see that report. The only other thing I have is I noticed the community center is on the agenda. There's a few items I could talk about on the community center. If anybody has any questions, you could ask me on it. Pretty much for the breakdown. The community center, everybody knows about it, everybody's seen it. We have a bunch of leaks in the roof area that, it needs a new roof. Everybody knows that, right? It's been saying that for the past probably 5-10 years. We patching it as we go along just to make it, keep it open as much as we could. Elevator, everybody knows it's on its last leg. Every time it goes down, everybody cringes because there's really no more parts for it. So they've been piecemealing and actually getting it back up and running, knock on wood. Basement area for Boys and Girls Club. I don't know if anybody did actually a walkthrough of there before they wanted to go back into the Boys Club during COVID. I know they did their own walkthrough and their own assessment of the place, and they determined that they couldn't go back in because they couldn't, meet the standards that they needed to. And then the third floor community center, everybody knows that hasn't been touched since the last remodel. So that's pretty much where we stand right now. Does anybody have any questions?
Albert?
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I've gotten some texts over the past couple of days regarding the solar work. We may want to get some regular communications out to the public regarding that work and the progress. There's some misinformation out there, I believe. And I don't want to get into it in the meeting. I'm just sharing it with you. I think I would recommend, some kind of sharing updates on social media with the progress of this work, so folks know what's been done, what's going on now. This is what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. This is when the project's hoping to wrap up. I think there's just a lot of stuff swirling out there. And like we said to start the meeting, Tim, in the middle of the pandemic, we really don't need it because things are starting to ramp up. And if we can squelch that kind of misinformation out there, I think that would be great. I know you're doing a great job overseeing it, but I think we need to keep sharing the data.
Okay. Is that what I talked to Rory on that? Is he the one that takes care of the Facebook page for the town side?
Right, Anne-Marie? That would be Rory.
That'd be Rory.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tim,
I'll
we
reach out
can,
to Rory tomorrow.
we'll work on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Hi, Tim. So the way you describe the community center, and we all know it's very beat up. Some of the things that you bring up, particularly the elevator, sound borderline dangerous. How long would you say we can go on like this before that building becomes an actual danger to the people that are in it?
Actually, the elevator, it's been signed off by the state inspector. So we do have it inspected. So technically it's safe by state standards. It's just a point of when it goes, if something does break on it, there's no available parts. So what they've been doing, the company we use has a stockpile of old parts that they pulled out of other units because they've been working on ours for so long that if they find one along the way, they can pretty much gut what they find and keep it on their truck or in their shop, just in case, because they know we have that type of that style elevator, and there's really no parts for it. In regards to how, again, the community center's been on its last leg for a while. So I know we talked about this probably almost a year ago now about the new community center that we were trying to propose. It's still, again, moving forward for a new community. So we don't even know where to start now with the new COVID regulations. You put something in play, it may not work anymore. So it's kind of like a touchy situation, but do we need a new one? Yes, we definitely need a new community center. Which way should it go now? I honestly couldn't tell you. Again, it's anybody's guess now.
I guess the question that I'm trying to ask is, we know that the community center is on its quote unquote last legs. It was on its last legs when it was middle school.
Exactly.
At what point do we risk condemnation?
Risk what? You cut out for a second.
Condemnation. Someone putting a big stay out sign on the door.
Yeah. I mean, it's still usable for what we use it for right now. The gymnasium's in decent shape. The second floor for the senior center's in decent shape. It's, those areas are not to the point like the downstairs was, as of safety reasons. The air quality is still good upstairs. We have dehumidifiers running in the basement now just to control the, any, moisture that we do have coming from the basement area. The boilers are up and running, again, that's hit or miss also. I mean, you could say tomorrow, you could say another year from now. I mean, we'll just keep milking it along until we really can't anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
No, I don't think it. That's it. Thanks, Tim. Thanks
Should I
for-
stick around, or are you guys?
If you want, or if you want to wait till we get on to the, we won't be.
I'll hang
on-
out for a little bit.
Yeah, you can hang out for a little bit if you want.
Okay.
So we can get down to the community center on 11.
Thank you.
I'd like you for here to be that. Okay. All right, so there's no other questions for Tim Connors. To next one is discussion and take possible action regarding non-union employee pay plan with Chris Pelosi. Chris is on.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I know we talked about the pay plan last April. Most recently, we reviewed the performance plan that goes along with that. It's kind of the second part of it. I know we have Pat Lombardi is new, and I know Anne Marie was not in attendance at the first April meeting we had. So just very briefly, I'm going to give a short summary of kind of why we're talking about a pay plan, what it is, and what it hopes to accomplish. I'm sure everyone's aware we have a strategic plan, a 10-year strategic plan. Each department has a set of goals and objectives that the plan, discusses, outlines as far as what it wants to see various departments accomplish. And for the Human Resources Department, one of the initiatives that the Strategic Planning Committee developed was to standardize, professionalize, and implement some recruitment practices across town. And, in looking at that, we have our union contracts that really define what the wages, the salary ranges for these positions are, how we go about recruiting for them. But one of the areas we were certainly lacking in was some sort of standardized recruitment practices for our employees that have their own contracts, the non-union group of employees. There's roughly half a dozen or so of us. And so the pay plan is aims to establish salary ranges for these positions. I'll use my position as an example. When I was hired as the town's human resources director, it was more or less a haphazard approach as to what should the level of compensation for this position be. So rather than having an approach where we just, what's left in the budget, what can we afford to put in a job recruitment for this type of position, maybe it makes sense to standardize these things so that people in these higher level senior positions that are going to be conducting these recruitments have something to refer to when a vacancy is created, so that they can have some guidance as to, what does a human resources director in a municipal environment make, or what does a chief of staff make, kind of a starting point. So that's the gist of what the purpose of the pay plan is. And so I think you guys have all the materials in the packet there, but there's roughly 5 or 6 positions. And basically, I developed salary ranges for each one of the positions. And the salary ranges are based on Connecticut CCM municipal data. And I look at the town of Seymour's population as one that's roughly 16,000. And then I created a range, call it 14 to 18,000 population range, where that was the primary driver that I looked at in determining which towns we would look at to determine these salary ranges. Obviously, just looking at the size of the municipality to determine how these jobs should be compensated probably isn't enough. So to sort of take it a step further, we went ahead and pulled job descriptions from these towns that are in that 14 to 18,000 population range. And we compared job descriptions to make sure that the finance director in Tolland, Connecticut, is serving a similar function as Doug Thomas is in Seymour. So the example I like to use is, one of the towns on the survey was Wilton. And the finance director in Wilton makes $150,000 a year. But in looking at his role in Wilton, he's responsible for managing the finance department, the tax collector's department, the tax assessor's department, the management and budgets department, and the controller's office, which is quite different than what we have in Seymour, where it's really Doug managing half a dozen or so staff members in his department, and we have other directors that are managing those other departments. So in that very specific example, I would remove Wilton from the list as one that we should consider in modeling our compensation strategy around. So again, pulling these job descriptions, doing an analysis between them to make sure that they're comparable to what we have in Seymour. They're never going to be 100% match, but if we can assume that we can get to about 80% similarity, then we're in the ballpark and we're in a good place. So that is in general terms, that is the approach that was taken to develop the ranges. And then the second piece to it was this incentive-based compensation model that I think some of the board members expressed some interest in, where, there was a concern that, we have these 2 to 3% annual increases year in and year out for some of these positions, same as the union employees. But, can we professionalize this further? Can we tie it to performance-based pay? And, maybe can we develop a pay matrix that says, based on a senior level staff person's performance throughout the course of the year, and Marie's assessment, maybe that person meets expectations, gets a 1% increase, and maybe if they're superior in every category, they've met all of their targets throughout the year, they get a 2 or a 3% increase. Or maybe if they didn't, they get no increase. So in order to accomplish the strategic initiative that was developed by the committee, I pulled together the pay plan and the performance review, performance appraisal that we talked about during the last meeting to offer what I consider to be the right approach to get to where the strategic planning committee and the board of selectmen wants to be if the goal is to, retain highly qualified professional staff and standardize our recruitment procedures for these positions. And that's where I am now. That's kind of the summary. And so I know we've been in discussion over the past couple months, going on since last April now. So, I guess at this point, I'm just looking for more direction as to where we ultimately want to go with this.
I'm going to open the floor up to questions for Chris. Does anybody have any questions for Chris?
Chris, have you spoken to the current strategic planning committee to find out how detailed or what direction they are looking to have you go?
No, I have not met with the strategic planning committee.
I think those are the folks you want to start with first, because they're, I've been off the committee for a few months now, well, a little more than a few months, but you need to start there, I would say, because they came up with the plan that the rest of the town has been supporting, and they have kind of more of that detail, and having a discussion with you, I think, would also benefit them. So both parties can get on board and come to agreement on how detailed you want to get.
Okay.
I think the chairman is now Kathy Relic.
Yeah, I can certainly reach out to Kathy to see if maybe some of these things have changed as far as what they're looking to accomplish. Certainly, if the initiative has changed or if it's no longer an initiative, then I will either modify what I've done, or if they're looking to go in a different direction, then that's certainly something I can
Well, I think they're going to
This is-
feedback on that as well, but I think it's exactly what you said, is having a plan in place should you not be available and someone's covering you, or for when you leave, so that it's consistent across the board. But Bob is now on the committee, so.
Yeah, this is Bob Finley. I'm on the committee, and, I think the intention in the plan is just what Chris is producing. I don't, he can bring the plan to us so we can correlate. That's not an issue, but I think what Chris has already produced in effort is what we were looking for as part of the plan. From a next step standpoint, I think the board has to come together and decide, do we want to have that type of performance plan in place for our staff? I mean, I think Chris produced what he was supposed to produce at this point, and he took a lot of feedback from different people. So I think at this stage, I think it's a review from us to say, okay, is this what we want to implement? Because even at the strategic plan level, it was just generic as to come up with a performance incentive plan for the town. It didn't have the details. The details should have spelled out from the human resource director as they have. That's my interpretation at this point.
Rob?
Yeah, Bob, I couldn't, I agree. And I think at this point, I'll certainly go back to the committee if there's any input that they have as far as what I've done up to this point. That's certainly not an issue. But I think that you hit the nail on the head. If we want to go to performance-based pay, if we want to standardize our recruitment practices, then I'm just trying to provide the board with what I consider to be the best way to get there. And that doesn't necessarily mean we have to do this, because we can continue doing it the way that we have been. But because this initiative was developed, I felt it was my responsibility to put something together to address it. And so again, you know, I'm indifferent as to which direction we want to head as far as whether we want to adopt this and look at it. Again, it's a pay plan. It's not written into a contract. We're not stuck with it for 3 to 5 years at a time. This is something that we should continuously look at and evaluate and change, you know, for you guys to look at as a board as, you know, we go on. But certainly this is my best professional assessment of where we are with recruiting for these types of positions and how I think it should look if we do want to standardize things for our non-union folks.
Yeah, this is Bob Finley again. I think from a completion of the action standpoint, that's what you would bring the strategic plan, because I think you've completed the action that was supposed to be presented. I think now it's from a board perspective to determine whether we were going to implement it or not. So. Does that make sense, Chris? So you can kind of share with the strat plan because what I'd like to have with the strat plan is let them see what you've done. Because from an action standpoint, we could say it's closed. But from an implementation standpoint, I think that's up to us now.
Yeah, 100% clear on that.
Okay. Yep.
Rob Van Egan, you had a question?
No, actually, Bob just nailed it on the head, because that's all I was going to say is you've done a phenomenal job putting it together. Send it back to strategic, see if they have any final comment on it. If they do, tweak. Otherwise, after that, back to us, implementation.
Yep.
So good job, Bob. Reading my mind.
Look at that, you two working so nicely together. Could be all the hours we spent together.
Yeah, that's right.
Anybody else have any questions for Chris? Chris, thank you so much for putting that together.
Yeah.
It was a lot of
Good
work
job,
that went
Chris.
into it, a lot of effort. We so appreciate it.
Thank you. It was
Absolutely.
a nice job.
A lot of research.
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's good.
And all factual
Appreciate
data,
it.
which is great.
Very thorough. Appreciate it, Chris.
Thanks, Al.
Okay, so there's no more questions for him. On to number 8. Discussion and take possible action regarding 31, 39, and 47 Silvermine Road. In your packet, I know Rory said we sent it out a little bit late, was the resolution for regarding the merger of 31, 39, and 47 Silvermine Road. Rich, do you want to?
Sure. If I may, most, if not all of you will recall that the Silvermine Industrial Park, the Seymour Industrial Park, was created by the town and the Seymour Economic Development Commission in May of 1983, and a plan of development was recorded on the land records. That plan of development encumbers the title, if you will, to the various lots and to the parcels included within the industrial park. The park has been substantially developed. When a party wishes to move forward at this point, on a couple of occasions, they have made requests of the town and the Economic Development Commission. The town has then gone forward to act in a way to release the encumbrance of the plan, to allow the taxpayer to move forward in a certain fashion. This particular taxpayer is operating a business there, purchased the property, which is lot 31, and also purchased lots 39 and 47, and wishes to merge all three parcels into one. The town received a formal request, and I have drawn up a resolution authorizing the merger of lots 31, 39, and 47 Silvermine Road.
Are there any questions?
You?
Rob?
Yeah, Rich, why? Is this an issue where they're paying, taxes at all on three, and this would lessen their tax burden to make it one property? I don't know. I'm just asking, is it just less paperwork to have one property when they want to develop, put a building up at, opposed to having to deal with,
I can tell you that normally people don't want to merge title and lots. They do the other, right? You maintain the separate identity of building lots. I mean, that's what folks do. In this case, we have an industrial user. These are adjacent properties. They asked to merge it. It may result in a modest tax reduction of some kind, but I can't even speak to that because that would depend on how the assessor values, if you will, the larger piece in conjunction with the existing industrial use.
not that I have any particular problem with this, but would it be worth tabling till our next meeting until we can talk to the assessor to find out any unintended consequences of this happening?
I mean, you could do that. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing I'm going to say that 36 Sergeant Drive, we approved the acquisition of these pieces in the existing building, the conveyance, if you will, and the release of certain encumbrances. I think we approved this roughly a year ago, I'm going to say. I mean, if Rory's there, perhaps he can recall it better than I can. But
It certainly feels like a year ago, but it was only June.
it was only June. Really? What a year, huh?
I'll tell you.
That's 5 years in 2020 time.
Yeah, exactly, Rob.
Exactly.
So it seems we've done other ones too. I'm not aware of any downside for the town on this. I don't see any. We can certainly table it and see if the assessor has any particular advice to give with respect to this. Rory, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is we were contacted by the surveyor who is working on this project for the property owner, who is planning on bringing it to planning and zoning, who handles the lot mergers. So when he asked, whether this board needed to take any action, he included a cover letter which indicates that the owner has plans for future expansion, and that is the reason that he's requesting the merger. I don't have specific details on, what that looks like, but that was what was stated.
I assumed it was going to be a larger building that would cross the property lines, and I assumed maybe it was just easier to have that as one property, paperwork-wise, for that owner.
Surely it would make it easier if he needed permits and as a contiguous piece of property.
Yeah.
For manufacturing wise.
And from that end, I would say, unless somebody can, because I'm ignorant of it, unless somebody could tell me a specific reason that that's a very bad idea, I would be in favor of merging them to make it easier, because I want more businesses to feel comfortable expanding and seeing it.
I do not see a downside from a professional standpoint with respect to the merger. the comment about wanting to do everything possible within reason to expand your tax base and to even more fully utilize the industrial park seems to be a good sound public policy. This is what folks had in mind back in 1983 when they started it. So it is a good thing.
And this would require, after this EDC approval, they meet the first Tuesday of each month. And then planning and zoning approval, I believe they meet the second Thursday. And so the planning and zoning meeting for the month is already passed. It would be unlikely, unless there's something urgent, that they would call a special meeting just for this. So we would have time at the first meeting in December to take action if you wanted additional information.
Or because of those other two things, there would be an opportunity to voice that, you know, even if we approve it now, EDC might find something before then that would be the issue to block it for whatever reason. So, okay.
Bob Finley.
Yeah, this is Bob Finley. Just not that I'm against this or not, but if they're merging those properties together, if they build one big building, let's say, and they leave, I think that's the ramification. Now you have one big building that needs to be filled versus three smaller buildings, which sometimes are easier to fill. It could be something like that, correct, Rich?
Well, actually, Rory, correct me if I'm wrong. My recollection of this is we have an industrial building on lot 31. Presently, the other two lots are undeveloped.
Let me.
On the map, there was
Put it up on the map right now.
Say that again, Rob?
I believe I looked at the map before the meeting and it didn't look like there was any building on there.
Yeah.
To Bob's point, if you build a huge one, now you got to fill that huge building if it becomes vacant. But Bob, don't forget, lots of spaces like that nowadays get subdivided, so you could have.
I'm not against it. I'm just trying to rationalize why they might do something like that. That's all.
Well, I think you're expanding your tax base if you take undeveloped property in the industrial park and encourage a larger industrial building, if you will.
Agreed. Okay.
Chris Bowen.
Yeah, that actually just touched on the point that I was going to make. I'm looking at this on the map as I speak. These are just trees in the other two lots. They're undeveloped. And if this were to go in, I mean, there would have to be multiple things that would have to happen for this large building to go, this proverbial large building to go a bit undeveloped or what have you, because even if they were going to build a large building, they would have to take that in front of planning and zoning. So there's multiple things that would have to happen for the worst case scenario that is being discussed. I mean, this is planning and zoning, in my experience with them, is going to consider this to be routine. And I don't really see a need to hold this up another 2 weeks.
Well, and if I can just go back with your permission, Anne Marie, if I can just go back and address Rob. When Rob's original concern on this was how it would be looked at from an assessor standpoint. And you really can't do that until you have that building built and until you have the valuation. And you certainly know this, an improved parcel versus unimproved parcels will result in a greater tax bill paid to the people, to the town of Seymour. So from that standpoint, this is a good thing.
I'll make a motion if no one has anything else.
Al. Bruno.
Just, I would rather not hold this up if Rich is confident that everything looks good and pulling the assessor in to get an opinion. You know, we could have asked him that weeks ago. I'd like to just move this item along personally. That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
Yeah.
Great.
Agreed.
Can I have a motion to move this resolution regarding the merger of 31, 39, 47 Silvermine Road as it is written, even with my name spelt wrong, forward?
So moved.
So
moved
moved.
by Patrick Lombardi, second by Chris Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes not aye. Motion carries. Rich, just so you know, it's Anne-Marie is one word.
One word. I do know that. Rory, I'm going to blame you.
That's what I'm here for.
Broad shoulder.
And I want you to correct it before the EDC votes on it.
That's right. I like to entertain a motion to add to the agenda, to add the easement resolution for Holbrook Road to the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Trish,
So
second
moved.
by Chris Bowen. Thank you. You will find in your package, well, again, that was sent over later on, is a resolution for the town of Seymour to acquire permanent right-of-way and easement for the roadway slope and drainage purposes over certain land located on Holbrook Road, Seymour and Oxford, Connecticut. As we know, as a board, we've constantly spoke about Holbrook Road, and God rest her soul, Karen Stanek was always asking, you know, when is Holbrook Road going to get fixed? When is Holbrook Road going to get fixed? And we'd always say, it's getting there, it's getting there. Well, it's finally getting there, right? So we're looking at hopefully in the spring to get this road done. But what we need is easements from the town of Oxford, as well as from Connecticut Energy and Environmental Protection. What this is going to do is allow us to move forward with that. So I need a motion to move this resolution forward. Motion by Trish, second by Al. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Nays? Chair votes aye. Motion moves forward. Any discussion? Rob Van Egan?
Just to clarify, this is because there's land in Oxford, Seymour is going to take possession of?
We're just gonna have an easement.
Just the easement, okay, that's,
Does not
I
give us
thought I read something that threw me off on it, but okay, just easements for those things.
just an easement.
Okay, super, let's get it done.
Birds.
Get her done. Okay. Great. Yay. Okay.
We're gonna call that the Karen Stanek Memorial Highway now?
You know, I mentioned that to Kurt. I said, once this is done, we need to put something in there for Karen. And he said, absolutely.
Be
So
nice.
we will do something for Karen. Absolutely.
That
I'm
would
not
be-
joking. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Okay, onward to the discussion and take possible actions regarding the adoptions of proposed ordinance changes. These are the ones that we had a public hearing for, and we are to pass them. So let's take, the first one is the fire chiefs. Can I have a motion to move these forward?
Motion to move.
Motion by Rob Finley, second by Trish Danka. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain? You abstain, Chris Bowen?
No, I was saying aye, my bad.
Sorry. Okay, chair votes aye, motion carries forward. The next one is the Water Pollution Control Authority.
So moved.
So moved by Patrick
Second.
Lombardi, second by Al Bruno. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Nays? Motion moves forward. 7-0. Nonprofit assessment.
So moved.
So moved by Chris, second by Trish. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion? Is there any discussion on any of these? Patrick, did you raise your hand? Mr. Lombardi?
No, I did not.
All in favor, we'll move these forward. Chair votes ayes. Great. We'll send them back to our ordinance committee and have them put them in little books, right? Discussion and take possible action regarding Union Cemetery. Rich Bertula, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Yes, so at the last meeting, a request was made for us to reach out to the Trinity Cemetery Association to see if they had any interest in perhaps stepping in and taking Union Cemetery over. They do not have an interest in doing that. They did express that they would be willing to, on a fee basis, to handle internments and other matters for the town, if the town should wish to take on Union Cemetery. And they pointed out that the funds that, the 40-something thousand dollars in funds should allow the town to maintain the cemetery for, you know, a period of time. That's the report back from the folks at Trinity.
So this board needs to vote as to what we want to do. We need to take possible action on this and move it forward.
There are other options.
Other options are we can say, no, we don't want to do it. And Rich, correct me if I'm wrong. Nope, don't want to do it. Leave it on the side of the road. It's okay. Or
Yes, it is not considered statutorily an abandoned cemetery. If it's an abandoned cemetery, then you're probably going to be stuck with it under the statute. But it is not an abandoned cemetery at this point. You can certainly say no, you can decline for the time being. They do have money to maintain the cemetery for some time. I think there was some concern that the group that is managing it is you know, growing older, and they wanted to make sure that the cemetery would be passed to a responsible entity such as the town for maintenance purposes. But you certainly have the option of saying no at this time.
So, but this is going to fall to us anyways when that collapses.
Yep.
So it's almost like waiting on the inevitable. Is that correct, Rich?
Unless they find another alternative. I mean, it is not, as far as I know, it's not affiliated with a church of any kind or religious institution, which sometimes manages and operates certain cemeteries. So it is an old historic cemetery with a small endowment of 40-something thousand, modest costs. And the town has some history of using it for burials, the town as a corporate body.
would they transfer that money over to us? Al, I see your hand.
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah, they offered
Was
that.
that what you're gonna ask, Al? Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I think this is a simple one for the town. I'm a little surprised it's taken us this long to get through it. It's a cemetery in our community. If we don't maintain it, it's not going to look great. It's not going to reflect well on our town. I think we need to bite the bullet, take it over, take the 40-something thousand. Like I said, I calculated last time that'll last a little over 7 years. And then the town's going to have to start kicking in to maintain it. There's nothing we can do. It's a cemetery in our community. It's not affiliated with the church. It's kind of just hanging out there. And I think it's just something we're going to have to work with and kind of bite the bullet on and take care of. That's
Al, respectfully, Al, I think the original intention, so you're saying how it took so long. Let's make it clear. The original intention to see if there was another cemetery organization that do this on a for a living that would want to take responsibility for it. I mean, that, so
right.
we took that shot
I'm not
first.
talking about that. I'm talking about the first meeting where we were peppering Brian for a good 25 minutes. And I was really confused why. That's what I was getting at. I understand Rich had to follow up with the Cemetery Association. They're having trouble getting in touch with them. I know Brian was. So, I mean, now we're here. I don't know what else the other plan would be to do with it, Bob. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, there isn't. I mean, that's why I said inevitably it's going to fall to our responsibility. So.
Yeah, it is.
Bob Van Egan.
Yeah, really quick, Al, the numbers that you came up with, was that based on the numbers that they provided for the maintenance?
Yeah, I just did the quick math last time we were talking about it. It was like $7,000 a year. They
Yeah,
had about
and
49,000. So it's only going to last about 7 years, and then we're going to have to start paying for it.
oh no, it's going to last a lot longer than that, because don't forget, that was based on them having to hire services as opposed to us using our own internal. So we can.
Great. Then we'll stretch it. Right. We'll
That's what I'm
stretch
saying. So
it.
it's,
How it works.
I
Yeah.
agree with Al. It's a slam dunk. And just because we take it on doesn't mean that sometime in the next decade, we're not at least passively looking for someone who may prop up. But at least to everyone's point, in that time, it's not going to fall into disrepair. We'll maintain it. We'll keep it looking good. And we'll be having an eye out for any maybe private, maybe another church company that may spring up over the next decade who want to take it over for us.
Yeah, because there were still open plots to that, if I'm not mistaken, right, Rich?
Exactly.
That's what they represented to us. Yes. Yes,
Mr.
but
Lombardi?
I will also say, they also represented their records aren't the best.
Yeah. Boy Scout project.
Mr. Lombardi, you had your hand up, then Trish.
Get Leclerc on it.
Okay, so the maintenance would be turned over to Public Works.
Yes.
Okay, so we would obviously have to be putting more seasonal staff on.
Yep.
Yes, I mean, yeah,
Probably.
I,
probably buy Tony a new mower as well.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead, Trish.
I happen to live 3 houses from that cemetery, and I do know that, I don't know the name of the private contractor that the cemetery service folks are using now, but, you know, they do keep the place pretty neat and orderly. I think one of the biggest complaints, you know, that I have is, you know, during the winter months, there's a sidewalk along there. We have a lot more children now living on Derby Avenue. And during the winter months, it gets treated with constant neglect as far as clearing the snow away. And we certainly don't want people walking in busy Derby Avenue with all of the additional truck traffic that we have from Haynes Construction. So I don't have any problems with what's been said tonight. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in that, you know, Public Works is going to take this on. We obviously would need to, you know, look at putting some additional seasonal help on to keep that cemetery neat and orderly in a presentable fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Trish?
I was just gonna say, I mean, I do agree with Al, but also if it is going, understanding Public Works can take this on, just monitor if it's gonna cost any additional money, and whatever it does, just work it into the annual budget each year. As far as if there's going to be any larger payments, so that it's not just something we're coming up with at a later date, if something else is going to be required before the money's run out. That's all.
Okay. So that we need to have a motion.
If I may, Madam First Selectwoman, I think a motion would be in order to authorize town council to work with the folks at Union Cemetery to put together an agreement and such other documents as are necessary to effectuate a transfer of ownership.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Bob Finley, second by Rob Van Egan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstains? Nays? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Okay. Now, discussion and take possible action regarding our future community center. Tim Connors is still on and great. And I know, Rob, this was something that you wanted to talk about. So I will hear from Rob as to what he wants to speak about.
No, just very briefly before Kurt left us, he did form if everyone will recall, and for the sake of the minutes and history, last November, we put on there a ballot to see if the town would approve, the people of the town would approve us up to $15 million for a new community center. It was kind of this just, you know, without any shape, just will you trust us with that? The town said no, not surprisingly. And that was a number that was generated based on best guesses of what it would cost to create, at worst case scenario, rebuild what we're looking for potentially in a new space. When that failed, Kurt formed a community center building committee, which to the best of my knowledge at this point has not yet met. I think there was some confusion over whether they had to be called to their first meeting by the first select person, which at that point they would nominate a chair, vice chair, secretary, all that. And that had not happened. So what I'm looking for is not for us to make any decisions at this point or even talk about what our desires are, but just make sure that even with COVID, that committee gets together and starts spitballing ideas and getting information together so that they'll be able to present to us. I'm sure Tim can tell us a ballpark figure of what it would cost to redo that building, build a new one on the same site, public-private partnership, down the road somewhere else, or something we have no idea about. Present us those options, then we can discuss and move forward. So my goal, get that committee chatting, and I'd love to hear Tim's just opinion on what would be the best plan for the town going forward. We're not holding you anything, just wondering from your experience, Tim, how you feel about things.
Rob, I totally agree with you. Yeah, we definitely need to get together. We need to start looking at what's our best options. We did put a couple numbers together back then, redoing what we have, the community center as it sits right now. I think we came in at somewhere between, don't hold me to it, anywhere between, 4 to 7 million at that part. Again, with using that footprint, we're kind of limited to what we can do and can't do. A straight out brand new building. We looked at the community center up, I think it's in Monroe, the one they just built up in Monroe, and that I think it was a psychiatric area, that old psych area up there. There's Newtown. Thank you.
Newtown.
Thank you.
Yep.
Theirs came in around 15 million. I think it was like 15 million too. That's where we got that number from for new construction. A lot of their area is a lot of wasted space. It looks nice, but there was a lot of wasted areas in there that we could do without and use elsewhere. They also had an indoor pool, indoor water park. It's, they had a lot of nice features.
Don't take away my water park, Tim.
No, I loved it. I think that was the best part of it all. The public-private, that's another option because, again, the different areas that we're thinking of, it could be easier on funding for us to manage it that way. Either a lease to buy of some sort of, something like that. So there's definitely a few options that we can put together. And actually, as a committee, I think I am on the committee. So as the committee, we can, we should get together, sit down, get some numbers flowing just to see which direction. And again, like I said previously, with COVID, things are changing every day of what's allowed and what's not allowed. Do we put a basketball court in anymore indoor? What's it going to be, 3 years from now? So same thing, indoor soccer area, everything's, it's all up in the air. And now the new air requirements, that's going to, on that size of a building, you're probably going to increase our cost by, a couple $1 million just in air quality controls. So there's a lot to look into, but I think we definitely need to get the ball rolling again. Because again, we all know what we're dealing with right now for a community center, and what's lurking down the road.
So then would it be a motion to ask the first select woman to call the building committee together, or do we that's just going to happen now?
What's the protocol on that?
What was that, Tim?
What's the protocol on that? Do I ask, is that what we do, or?
Well, do you have a committee in place?
There's a committee already in place. There's been a committee in place. We now have to have a meeting, but I think what the committee was doing was we have been waiting to see where we're going to go with this COVID. As Tim stated, we don't know what the what the CDC is going to say, what we can or what we can't do. Are we going to be able to have an indoor swimming pool? Will we be able to have basketball courts?
I think that the change is going to be, there's going to be different ventilation requirements. I think there's going to be different filtration. I think a lot of that's going to come out of this. I think, Tim, you're spot on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would suggest that the committee get together, maybe the beginning of the new year. You know, how is this gonna, how is this gonna play with us? You know, we had so far in July, we did good with the tax collection because we had the stimulus check, we had the unemployment coming in. So our July taxes, we had the money there. Where are we going to come in January? There is no guarantee of a stimulus coming in. You know, people are still not working. That is why I would want to wait until after January to see where we are monetarily wise as well.
I don't think we would propose anything before that. I think it's just getting ideas together. Because again, just trying to propose anything right now, I think, we can't even go out of our house, let alone build a new building to go to.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with waiting to call them to their first meeting before the end of the year and ask them to do it sooner rather than later. Again, this is just, even if it is getting together a wish list of things that they want, at least it's starting. And this is going to be a community center that is not going to be up for a year and then taken down. This is going to be a long-term thing. So despite how things might be financially over the year, all that might mean is we're not going to take any action for 3 years until things get to a state of normalcy. But at least now we start planning all the things we want, seeing what costs were before. And to Tim's point, we can't do anything because things change day to day. 6 months from now, they may say all water needs to be, UV filtered. And honestly, I'm kind of glad we didn't build something or at least start on something $15 million worth a year ago that now all of a sudden would be, first off, probably not finished or would have to be completely gutted and revamped to match things. So
Correct.
One positive of that. And thank you, Tim, for bringing up those things. So I would again ask, at least tell them to try to meet via Zoom or even an email correspondence, just to put something on the books sooner rather than later. Maybe after Thanksgiving, though. Let them get those meals in.
Okay. So
Christmas.
yeah,
Right?
We got time. Everybody's sitting at home at night, so they got nothing better to do. We could have a meeting.
I agree. So all right, so we'll call a meeting with the committee sometime in December then. Let's get past Thanksgiving.
Yep.
How's that, Rob? Is that okay?
I'd make it early to mid-December before the holidays are in full craziness, right?
Absolutely.
Rob, is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. So yeah. Then thank you very much, Anne Marie.
No problem. Well, maybe the second week of December, we'll look at see who's there in Zoom meetings. I have a feeling we will be doing Zoom meetings probably until at least April. I don't see us getting together anytime soon for meetings. All right, so we'll look to Rory. Can we just look at the schedule and see what we could put together? Maybe the week of December 7th.
Yeah, the only restrictions will be with the FOI requirements in our Zoom license. We can only run 2 meetings a night, basically. So we'll have to find a night with some time that's open just to make sure that we can run the meeting. But we will find something.
Okay. And then once we have a meeting, I'll let everybody on the Board of Selectmen know when that meeting is. So if you choose to Zoom in, you may Zoom in. How's that? Great. Okay. All right. So appointments. Oh, I need a motion to add to the agenda the Board of Selectmen dates for the 2021 meeting year.
So moved.
Who is that? Motion by Bob Finley, second by Rob Van Egan. Okay. Rory, you sent out the dates.
I did. Joe, who works in Rich office, pointed out that I had modified the 2019 dates, and so it still says 2019 at the top, but I assure you the dates are for 2021.
Lazy.
I ask you about that.
Yeah. The only deviations from the first and third Tuesday, election day in November, so it's the first Wednesday in November, and the second Wednesday in December, which, as people will recall, is because of the Great Hill Hose Christmas party, which, you know, God willing, next year will be happening.
Okay, so those are the 2020 dates. You just didn't put the 29, you just had 2019 on there.
Correct.
Can I have a motion to accept? Oh, Chris Bowen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just one quick question. Next year is municipal elections, which means we'll all technically be running for our seats. Is it a good idea to have is it typical to have a meeting the day after that?
Yes.
This year it was canceled. I think a lot of years it gets canceled.
I just think because it's municipals, we'll still, our own elections will be on the docket then. I don't know if it's customary to have a meeting directly after that.
We don't take
Wednesday, don't we?
Yeah, there's a lame duck session that's about a month.
Yeah, we normally meet on that Wednesday.
Okay.
Motion to approve the 2021 meeting dates as presented in your packet.
Motion by Patrick, second by Trish. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions, no, any discussion? No. Motion moves forward. All. The discussion and take possible action regarding the economic development director. Patrick, you weren't on the board at the time, but we had received a request from the EDC to interview at the time Sheila O'Malley as an ED, as our economic developer, our director of economic development, to bring someone in. And at the time we were going to do that, but COVID had hit and that got put to the sideline. It is now time, because we will be meeting with, I have to meet with the economic chairman tomorrow. So I want to at least get back to her and say, we are going to interview Sheila O'Malley, or we're not going to interview Sheila O'Malley. Her name was put forward, and the longer we wait, the more and more businesses are going to pass us by. Rory, hold on out. Rory can attest to this, that our phone is ringing for people wanting to come into Seymour. Rory?
Yeah, just in the past probably 3 weeks, I've had at least 4 appraisers and real estate folks and people who operate companies looking for space, and they're asking what's available, and I don't know. There's a couple of outstanding tax incentive agreements that the board did preliminary approval for. One you'll probably see on the agenda in December at some point. There is work to be done, and I lack the expertise, but I'm trying to just keep pushing things through and trying to connect people where I can. But yeah, Bob.
Yeah, isn't that part of the commission? It's not so much a director that needs to do that. Wasn't that part of if you look at the charter, the commission are the people that can work with some of the people that are calling. Isn't that true?
Not so much. It was more that they had an EDC director. They would kind of guide what they wanted, the vision, but the EDC director would be the contact for things.
Yeah, but without one though, I thought it had them that they can do that as well. I thought that was part of the deal, but I could be wrong.
Well, I don't think so. I think when Fred left, and I was on the EDC then, as a matter of fact, I was on with Chris and I believe Rob, and I know Sheila. She came before the board a couple of times. Seems like a very knowledgeable person. Certainly, I'm not here to, influence you one way or the other. But to your point, once Fred had left, I believe that all of those connects that Rory is doing were really given to Christine to work out with Kurt, if my memory serves me correct. Unless Rob and Chris have any other recollection of what was taking place.
Well, I mean, I can speak to the fact that there was, like you said, when Fred was there, the EDC didn't feel like they were really getting any no power to really interact with him. So that's why there was kind of that exodus of members from EDC. And then after Fred left, we did have that CERC connection. And prior to that, I believe it was pretty much just Kurt acting as EDC in his spare time as best he could. CERC's contract changed on their end, and then everything seems to have been just kind of in flux from there. And I'm sure the EDC wants to have a singular contact person to, I think, Bob's point when you were saying, don't they become the de facto? I think part of the problem was that was never stated, and it's not like they had a phone number that was, this is the Seymour EDC, call us. So everything went in.
Hi.
Yeah, but if Rory gets a call, he could pass that along to them.
Yeah, but because there was never that chain established, I think it's just been on Rory's shoulders to do. So if we were to say right now, EDC board, you guys are going to handle all this, that would be something to discuss. So I think that would be to have an EDC director who's going to report to the economic development director, who's going to report to the EDC, who then reports to us, so that they can kind of guide how they want things to go, and that person can work out and do the connections. But as far as, I think regarding Sheila, absolutely a decision needs to be made. I don't like keeping anybody in the wings, and I feel like that should be and an interview does not mean hiring. It's just we would have that opportunity to talk to her. And I really think the EDC, whenever their last meeting was, or when's their next meeting? Your meeting, Anne Marie, you said tomorrow with.
Or a meeting with their chair.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to know where they stand on this, and then move forward in that. Got it there. I know Trish is biting at the bit to say.
Go ahead, Trish.
Well, no, I'm kind of biting at the bit because I'm angry. I can't remember specifics, but I know when we first were considering going in this direction, I received a number of calls from individuals not happy with going in this direction with this individual. I can't recall the specifics because some time has gone by when this was first brought to our attention. I don't know if anybody else received anything. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to an interview because that's all it is at this point. Did anybody
Yes.
I know we kind of briefly touched on this, I think, at a meeting, did we not? Am I having a false memory?
Might be a false memory.
Hold
but-
on. I'm gonna reel it back in. We did discuss this, and Sheila O'Malley was put forth by the EDC committee. Hold on, Chris. That you guys, she put forth. Her name was put forth, but then when Kurt went to go do the work for Ansonia, it was, oh no, we don't want her because of the whole Kurt deal. And then when Kurt went to go work for Ansonia, we are not Ansonia. We don't offer the same things as Ansonia. We are Seymour. We have different directions that we want to go. we don't have we don't have what Ansonia has. Ansonia doesn't have what we have. So,
Well, I don't have a history with her. So all I'm going to say is if memory serves me correct, the calls I received had to do with some unfinished projects and not being able to answer specifically how certain money was used, like being very vague. There was an issue with very vague answers after the fact. So all I ask is when we're, who's ever interviewing is kind of, I would say definitely get some references from the town and speak to some people. And I'd question, try to get very specific answers about budgets, projects, and just see where things lie. Because if I remember correctly, those were the concerns of the residents that called me upset that we were considering. And I don't know her, so I don't have a personal opinion one way or the other. I am just hesitant to move forward, knowing, like I said, it's just an interview at this point, but I want to take the other concerns because I don't know this individual. I want to make sure the questions when we're interviewing kind of touch upon those items to see if we can kind of negate that situation. If that's indeed true. It's all hearsay at this point because I don't know her, like I said.
right. So hold on, Chris, I know you had your hand up, and Rob, I know you had your hand up. First of all, anybody that we hire, anybody that we interview will be interviewed by this board. So we will all have the chance to ask her questions. That was something that we made very clear back when Stefan Bohuniak was on the board, was that anybody that we were hiring, they were going to come in front of this board. Okay. To answer your question, Trish, about asking her questions, we have to put those questions together.
Yeah, but we're not the first line of interview. I think that's after the person's initially interviewed and it's someone that
EDC has
figures is good to bring forward, right?
EDC has put her name forward.
Okay.
Chris, go ahead, because I know I keep telling you to hold on. I'm sorry.
I've been driving I've been driving a lot of this forward since I was on EDC. And just to note for the record, most of us were in the room for some of these conversations and a lot of those meetings because 4 of us came from that commission. So we were on the board when we hired CERC ran through the Board of Selectmen to hire CERC. Now as Rob mentioned, their contract changed and they pulled out of that. So since that time, Economic Development put forward Sheila O'Malley's name. But when I was on the commission, I made it very known that I felt that the position really shouldn't be a part-time position. It should be a full-time position with other duties merged in with that, not just the part-time position that they had. Their commission has emailed me a couple times asking what process of this is. A couple of their members have a very good professional relationship with Sheila. I can't speak to that. Christine and I did ask her to present to our board one day, and she came in, spent a couple hours with us, and quite frankly, it was very informative. But first off, this is a moot point at the moment because right when COVID hit and we did our budget when we closed up some of the items on the budget, the economic development director salary at $35,000 was put on that separate list, meaning it would have to go through us and the Board of Finance in order to fill that part-time position. When we were having the discussion, I made very preliminary inquiries to Kurt and Chris Pelosi about possibly merging some duties into a full-time position that would go as a non-union position. Now that we've had those discussions on some of the people that already have those jobs. I did speak to Chris about that. He was positive about it, but we agreed to kind of table it because we're in the middle of COVID. We don't know where our finances are at. So what I really wanted to do and just reaching out about this in the first place is, yes, they need a point person. Yes, we need an economic development director in the town, but I think we're going about this improperly because hiring somebody else's economic development director, irregardless of the other concerns that some people in town have had about her budgets and her projects, et cetera, this is a position that we really shouldn't be going halfway on. We should be considering, instead of going for $35,000 for somebody else's position, we need a full job description first off, as to what that position entails. Hopefully economic development can assist with that, because I think Christine had a lot of that done already. See what other duties we can possibly merge into that would justify a higher salary, and we can go from there. Instead of hiring somebody else to do this job as a part-time gig, bring in somebody who can really take those calls and take that off Rory's plate, because frankly, Rory's got so many plates on his head, I'm surprised they haven't fallen yet.
Chris, I'd be willing to talk to you offline, but at the moment, I disagree because we don't own property. I'll talk to you offline. I don't want to get into a debate.
I'm fine with that, but I just want to let everybody know where because this is something I've been kind of forward about for the past couple of years, since before I was on the Board of Selectmen, when I was on economic development. It's something I believe very strongly in, and I know anybody that served with me on that commission knows that. I beat them upside the head with it ad nauseum. But at least that gets us into the conversation at the very minimum. We can discuss offline particulars of your issue, but I do at least want to let everybody know how we got to this point, because it's been a road from Fred leaving to the new commission coming in to CERC leaving, to pandemic, to Sheila. And I at least want to get some other options on the table.
Who had their hand up? Who else had their hand up? Bob.
Yeah, so I'm just finished. I think the one thing I was looking for from whomever came in for an interview is a 30, 60, 90, so that we understood what their intention was when they walked in the door. If they can bring that to us and give us an idea of the direction, that would help in facilitating someone being hired. So with the candidate that we have right now, which I believe is Sheila, I mean, I would influence the EDC to bring a 30, 60, 90. So we have a plan. It doesn't have to follow it to the letter of the law, but it'll lead us a strategy or a framework that we can have, so we know exactly what's going to be done when they're taking that role. I think it's as simple as that.
Rob.
The last thing I'm going to say is I think Chris said it right when he said that we're doing it out of order. And I don't know if it would be a motion, but to have the EDC present us with the actual job description that they want to fill before we start interviewing people. But that's got to be, get it together, guys.
I agree.
Thankfully, a lot of that work's been done. So,
Good.
I mean, I'm sure Karen has a folder with that.
Good. So then they should be able to present it to us for at least the next for us to look at for the next meeting, a job description for the economic development director.
Well, first Selectwoman Dragonis is meeting with them tomorrow, so that's something. Maybe we don't even need a motion for that, no?
No, I'm sure she can just ask or command.
Administrative function.
Command that? Rory?
And as for what Roy was saying, if he got 4 calls in, is there something we can do in the meantime that helps to facilitate those calls? We should come up with an interim plan until someone's hired, because I do not want to lose any opportunities either.
That would be for the EDC to compile a list of all the properties, which is something I feel like was talked about from
when I was on.
Yeah, when we were on, and we assumed that CERC kept saying they were going to do that, but it never came forward.
Right.
They were doing it, and then they took Sadie away.
Okay, so there's a partial, which may have grown now with COVID.
Grown or changed. Let's put it this way. The list that we have that Sadie might have completed or halfway completed is about as useless as the list that we got when we were on economic development.
Okay, so we need a new list.
So
and-
far out of date.
So we need a new list.
Yeah,
What?
and to
You
Tricia-
guys remember that?
She was really good.
yeah, and to what Trish said previously about Seymour not owning any land, yeah, that's true, which is all the more reason we need a dedicated full-time position who's gonna know all of the owned land that has vacancies, because those people may be very bad at promoting their land.
And I'm sorry about that, Rob. And can possibly write grants to get remediation efforts for the land that needs help.
Yes,
The brownfields.
what Sheila brings to the table.
Brownfields. Anyone who's been paying
Not that
attention to
many
me for the past
brownfields
6
in the
months
town of-
knows where I am.
There's not that many brownfields in the town of Seymour, Chris.
Seymour Copper.
But they're prominent.
There are just 3, that's it.
But they're prominent.
And getting those cleaned up would be a very big step.
And on one of them, we did have Selectman Paul Roy did get the money for this one piece of property, and the guy didn't clean it up. So, you can only clean it up. The owner wants it cleaned up. That's the whole thing with the brownfields. We can go get the grants. We can say, here's the money, clean it up. But unless they want to,
Well, EDC
This
director,
might be a good
I like
time to
that.
ask Mr. Paterno about Kellogg.
what was that, Chris?
Well, if they don't want to clean it up, then maybe this is a good time to ask Mr. Paterno about Kellogg versus New London. Yeah,
Go ahead, Rich.
that's the
But
eminent domain.
I'm not sure I heard that correctly, but if he's talking about Kilo versus New London was the case dealing with the condemnation of the property in, let's see, I'm not sure it's even New London. It might be Groton, but it's the Kilo case that deals with
New London.
condemnation for the purpose of economic development. And I can talk about that at some length, and communities have done that.
carrots and sticks.
What I'm saying
But I
is,
will say this, Chris, if I can just jump on that for a second, the taking of properties that are contaminated by municipalities for the purpose of economic development is a topic of conversation where municipalities have come out on different ends of that spectrum. Some have refused to do it, and some have actually formed a redevelopment corp because after countless times of trying to move 4 or 5 contaminated pieces of property, they finally put together a redevelopment corp to basically take those properties and then try to market them and clean them as relatively clean, stable properties for development after using government dollars for the purposes of cleanup. So.
They take responsibility for the cleanup then, Rich, right?
just
The
to
town-
show we have a stick, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, there are, you have a variety of tools in your tool bag if you want to do that. I mean, I have been involved in probably one of the largest ones in the state of Connecticut, heavily involved. It wasn't even a brownfield, it was a Superfund cleanup site. And that was the Raymark factory in Stratford, the old Raybestos Manhattan brake lining factory. And that was done by the EPA Region 1 out of Boston, and they spent $183 million to create that shopping center there and consolidate the waste. And they took the property out of it, what's called a Section 363 sale in the bankruptcy court, away from Raymark, and the bidders were at the time Shaw's, Shaw's, Home Depot, and Walmart. And they pre-engineered the buildings into the waste cap and everything else so that it could be done in a particular fashion. So there are lots of economic tools, some federal dollars, some state brownfield dollars. If a community wanted to go down a particular road.
And we need somebody who's going to know about these and can move things like that forward. Not for us to decide now, just that's so
And who works for us.
job description. Job description.
Yeah, I think that's a good first step.
Mhm. Rory?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on a few things, you know, in terms of EDC handling things, even if it's only in the interim, you know, the issue is they meet once a month. Even if they bump it up to, you know, once every 2 weeks, if we get a call the day after their meeting, do they have to discuss it as a board? Is the chair empowered to speak on behalf of the board without discussing with the other committee members? These are some issues that we kind of ran into with it. I'm sorry, Chris, you wanted to?
I will note, well, I'll note, I just wanted to note that only one person on that board does not have a full-time job. She's retired. So sure, the chair can be empowered, but he's got a job. Every one of these guys has a job. It's a volunteer board. So
Absolutely.
It's not like they can just drop everything and meet somebody at 11 o'clock. That's one of the reasons why they want this point person, so that even if it's a part-time position, they've got 8 hours a week, at least one of those hours, they can come by and talk to somebody in the middle of the day. That's really where they're coming from there.
Absolutely. And that's what I was getting at is, you know, it's difficult, even when Sadie was in, you know, unfortunately, that arrangement didn't last as long as we would have liked to see. You know, we played answering machine for Sadie because she was only there 8 days a week, but she was in every week at least 2 days. So people only had to wait at most a couple of days to have someone get back to them. You know, these people that are calling me are calling, they're calling me every couple of days looking for updates on, you know, available properties. And you know, I have no real estate experience. We don't have an inventory of what's available. So it's been challenging, and I would, you know, I would just say the longer we wait, to Bob Finley's point, we may be missing out on opportunities. And I promise you I'm doing everything I can, but I'm just not equipped.
Right. Well, maybe that's something I should handle, like Kurt handled it when he was in office, and maybe that's just something I handle until we get somebody in house.
That might be the right answer, Anne Marie. I mean, just as an interim.
Large and in charge. I'm just not large. Or in charge. Sorry, guys. It's been a day full of meetings. All right, so I'm meeting with the EDC chair tomorrow with Rory. I think it's 4 o'clock, correct, Rory? I'm going to make sure that we have a job description for this person.
Correct.
Anybody that we bring in, once we have the job description, anybody that is applying for said position will come in front of this board. You will know ahead of time so you can have questions ready.
Is that something that would be done in executive session?
It would be
Well, if I may go there, Madam First Selectwoman,
Go ahead.
I think you would be better off designating under the Freedom of Information laws, the Board of Selectmen as an executive level personnel search committee so that you can interview candidates without having to post notices. And without, you have no fear of that. And frankly, you may recall that some of the discussion about Ms. O'Malley, to the extent she was interested in a position here, she was working in another community. So when you apply, if you're a police chief in town A and you're applying to town B, you do it under the personnel, the executive search committee type format, so that your identity isn't given up to your current employer. And you can do that. The Freedom of Information law exists in such a fashion to give you an exception to be able to do this. And I would recommend that you move in that fashion when you're ready to start interviewing.
We already did that.
Okay.
We already did that. Because remember,
For this
the
position?
reason Anne Marie, remember we did that because going back a few months when this first came up, one of the first things that we did was because of the close relationship that the first Selectman Miller had, we asked him to recuse. I did specifically. I asked him to recuse, and that's when we set up the search committee with Anne Marie as the chair. Am I? At least that's how I remember it.
For that, do we have to, oh, yes, you're right, Chris, you're right. But do
Yeah,
we,
so we already have that committee. So
Well,
really, all we need to do is just add Pat and kaboom, we're in.
I think that, Chris, my recollection's a little different than that. My recollection is you set up a little subcommittee to interview Sheila O'Malley, not to deal with the broader issue about how to go forward for the economic development director interviews to the extent.
No, I believe the wording, and we can check this later, but I do believe the wording was that a general search commission that just happened to have Sheila O'Malley as an applicant. I don't believe it was set up just for one person.
Well, that would be good. Then you've done it. And
Is
that
that,
would
I don't
be
know,
good.
is that something we can, I'm not the boss, so Anne Marie, is that something we want to look up?
go ahead.
I think Chris is right. I think it was set up as a general committee, not specific to one individual. But we should check it, obviously.
Yeah, I'll leave that to the lawyers.
I think you need to check it out, err on the side of caution.
Will we check it out or we just name the committee anyways? Do it anyway and do it again? Does it hurt?
Yeah, because really all we have to do is add Patrick and we're in.
Yes.
Well, what you would do is name the existing members of the Board of Selectmen as the executive level personnel search committee for the position of economic development director.
Something we should motion now, or?
Yes,
You can do that.
go ahead. I need a motion.
So moved. So moved.
Motion by Chris, second by Bob Finley, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Nays? Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Okay, appointments. On to number 13. And it's only 8:39. On to appointments. So we have one appointment in our package, and that is for Matt Calzone, Fire Commissioner, appointment, 3-year term, expires 11/17/2023. Can I have a motion? Bob Finley, Trish Denka, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carries 7-0. Discussion? Pat, you had brought this to my attention. Pat, you brought this to my attention about the expiration date. Is that the right expiration date?
No.
No, okay. Can you go into a little bit detail, please?
Well, customarily and in the past, the expiration dates have been in December. There's that kind of absolutely no way you could have an expiration date for a fire commissioner in November, because both fire companies perform their internal nominations for that position and other positions within the firehouse. And if my memory serves me correct, Matt would be replacing, Todd Andrews, and I believe that was a 2-year appointment. So you have one commissioner, the terms alternate, one commissioner is 3 and one is 2.
Okay, so the 11/17/2023 is not correct. So would it be December of 2023?
No, it'd be December, well, it'd be 2 years, yes.
So December 2023. Okay, Rory, can we just fix that, his expiration date to December of 2023?
While ironic, could I just ask Rory a question?
Yeah.
Rory, do we still have the chart? Or one time there was a list put together of all commissions, boards, and committees with everybody's name and expiration date?
We do.
Okay, so my suggestion to you in this particular case, and it's my suggestion, I'm certainly not your boss and I'm not telling you what to do, but I would check and see what Todd Andrews's expiration date is, and that will determine what Matt Calzone's expiration date would be.
Okay, I'll do that. I know we had received a letter. Malia puts together the appointments. I don't know if she pulled it from the letter or, took it from the wrong person on the spreadsheet, but we'll get to the bottom of it.
Look, that's understandable, and those things are going to happen. What I'm trying to relate to is that I don't want to see us appoint this individual for either a shorter period of time than they should be or a longer period of time. So if you could just look into that, that'd be great.
Okay, great.
Anything else, Anne Marie?
Nope, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, so.
Okay.
Tax funds and abatements. So in your packet, you have a list from Dana Flack from the tax collector. Can you just go through it, make sure that there are no concerns, no issues? I need a motion. Motion by Trish, second by Al. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. Motion carries 7-0. Great. Transfers in your packet, you have a transfer from Alex out of the contingency fund is $3,500 from the Christmas parade. They want to take it out. We are not having our Christmas parade this year due to COVID and not being able to gather. So what the parade committee is doing is they are holding a Christmas. Trish, you may have something with this. It's a decorating contest. It's Seymour's first annual decorating holiday lights contest. Not necessarily just Christmas. It's however you want to decorate your house, and they're going to award prizes for the best award. Sort of bringing the community together, so you still can drive by lights and the houses and jingle jangle, whatever you do when you see the Christmas lights, and people are just going to vote on it, which I think it's great since we can't have a parade. It brings the community together, and this is something that the parade committee is hoping that we'll get sponsors for and be able to continue into next year as well as have our parade. I think it's a great idea. Alex came and he had some awesome ideas about decorating the town buildings, but the town buildings, the town hall is not going to be into the award, but like maybe the firehouses would, or the ambulance would, and then the residents would. So I need a motion to approve the transfer. Bob Finley, second by Rob Van Egan. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Nays? Motion approved 7-0. Discussion? Bob Van Egan, Rob Van Egan.
Yep, just so I understand, do we know how this budget, this 3,500 compares to previous year's budget? Is this reduced? Is this, and this is just for my knowledge, since I don't know what it was before and procedurally how this happened, just to educate myself.
Trish?
I think Alex is not here to answer, but I think it's reduced. I can get that answer. I know he sent Anne Marie a list. You guys will get beforehand a list. I just haven't. Anne Marie asked me to edit something Alex sent based on some comments I had. Of course, because I have to critique Alex's ideas and work and budget. So once I do that, it will go to Anne Marie, and then when she gives it her stamp that those changes are okayed, then we'll get it to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, but I believe it's lower than what the normal parade cost is.
Yeah, there's, I know there's something mentioned about some gift cards to encourage, like the first so many people, I don't remember how many, just to encourage participation. The first so many would get like a $5 or $10 gift card or something like that to Dunkin' Donuts, I think.
You have to register for it?
Yes.
It's free to enter, but the perk is if you enter, you might get a gift. Is the budget, is that Alex? Is the budget less than the Christmas parade?
Yes.
By how much?
What do you mean?
Is the budget for the Christmas lights less than the Christmas parade?
Yes.
By how much?
Couple hundred.
Just a couple of hundred? Okay,
I'm not sure.
it's about the same then, as far as I'm concerned.
No, the first 15 were getting a food bank gift cards in people's names.
Oh, the first 15 are
You're
food
gonna get a
bank
$15
gift cards.
gift card. No, $15 donation to the food bank in their name.
Okay.
Okay, good. Oh, so we're donating to the food bank. That's right.
Again, is this a like, I would say 22 Woodside.
Do you want to come answer a question?
Go ahead, Rob. 22 Woodside, you want to register, so you have to register by a certain time to a certain date to get into the judging.
Yeah, how do you know who's part of this and who just is decoration anyway?
Thank God.
I didn't hear what he said.
Please repeat the question.
I said, who put your ear right next. No.
My wife breathes heavy.
The beard is affecting his
Al.
hearing.
My question to this was, you want to be able to incentivize people to participate. How are you going to know who's participating for this and who just has a lot of Christmas spirit? Is there a registration that has to happen?
Everything will be put up online by this Friday of approval of you guys. I don't know if they approved it or not, but and then it'll be an online application form right on our webpage. Malia's gonna take care of all that for us. I talked to her about it, and then once they register, I'll have some signs made up with numbers to put on their front lawn that they're participating in it, and then we'll make a $15 donation in their name to the food bank.
Understood. Okay, so there will be numbers at the property so you know who's actually participating. Gotcha.
Yes.
Good job.
And what are the categories?
The categories, I mean, I'm up in the air. I'll decide by Friday. We're either gonna do a Martha Stewart category, 1 through 3.
Oh, you changed the categories.
Yes, on your thing.
I never said Martha Stewart. I'm just gonna.
Martha Stewart, what? Go ahead.
Listen.
Yeah, I know,
No,
right?
listen.
What the heck?
The Martha
Don't get in
Stewart
trouble.
category, 1 through 3, and the second one will be the Clark Griswold, 1 through 3. So we're gonna go crazy to like traditional.
I'm
So
gonna
the Martha Stewart is a prison theme?
What's that? I'm playing Santa Claus.
Is there a Grinch theme?
No, because my wife said that if someone puts out one strand of bulbs or someone puts out one figure, what justifies that being a Grinch? And I couldn't really come up with an answer.
Well,
I
I just said you might get hundreds of people that just throw up one light bulb, and that kind of defeats the purpose.
No, I meant like the movie The Grinch, not like the Grinch theme thing. Like, that's what I meant. All right.
They're going to do what Trish said. They're going to put out one light bulb. Yeah.
You may drive. We do a Grinch theme every year since my kids are older though, and it looks great. So drive by my house. I actually have a Grinch tearing lights down. So
That's
Next,
just me dressed up in a green costume.
So I have to go, what you're telling me is I need to go right now and buy every single strand of lights to win the Clark Griswold one.
yes.
wait,
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
even
The
think
rules state that if you are an employee of the town or on a board of selectmen, you would not qualify.
I resign as.
I'm ready to quit myself.
Because you guys are
but-
going to be basically the judges and stuff like that with the parade committee.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Okay. So on to correspondence, we have a letter in our packet from Patrick Lombardi resigning from the Board of Finance as an alternate. Also is the letter from Citizens 2 naming Matt Calzone as a fire commissioner. And the check run is in there as well. Okay. So, Rory, did any public comment come on, or is there anybody in for public comment?
I have not seen any come in. And there does not appear to be any public.
So with that, I will then go into selectmen public comments as continuing the Kurt Miller tradition as you are on the screen. So Trish, you were the first one on my screen.
Happy Thanksgiving. I think that is all I have this evening. It is late.
It is. Bob Finley.
I was honored to be at the rainy Veterans Memorial Day at Broad Street Park. They had a very good attendance. Mayor Dezinkin was there, Mayor Loretti, First Selectman Temple was there, Mayor Cassetti. So they were all present, and we all did talks for the veterans. It was a very nice event. And again, I was honored to be there.
Chris Bowen.
Be safe and wear a mask. Cases are spiking.
Patrick Lombardi.
Yeah, just I wanted to give a big shout out. I read a article in the Valley Independent Sentinel regarding a young lady by the name of Katie Melco, and you may know her, you may not know her, but she's a 2005 Seymour High School graduate. She's written a series of books. I believe she just wrote her third one. It's called correct me if I'm wrong, but the Pew Elementary series. And I was really inspired by the article because the books that she writes help children deal with anxieties such as going to the dentist and so on and so forth. So just heads up on her, a big shout out to her. I think she's done really a fantastic job, and for someone to take the initiative to write books to help out small children that do have these anxieties, I think is really something remarkable. Other than that, happy COVID Thanksgiving to everyone. Wear your masks.
Bruno.
I just want to say congrats to the Seymour High School teams that were able to have some kind of fall season. I know we had some hiccups along the way, but I know that my daughter's personally grateful that the kids that she plays with on the soccer team were able to play. There are a handful of other teams that are able to compete and at least have some sort of fall season. Kudos to our Board of Ed and our coaches for permitting that to go forward. It is what it is. We're all thankful that we got to watch the kids participate a little bit this year. The other piece is just, like people have been saying, the cases are spiking. We're going to have a rough winter potentially with the projections. I really want to just say, we have to be safe, wear a mask, social distance. This is not a joke. We know a handful of folks personally that are sick. My family's in quarantine right now. This is serious, and I really hope people start taking it seriously now. I think it's about time, and hopefully the vaccine is ready for the spring and summer, and we get back to normalcy. And to that end, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you have a good get together. If you do get together with family, if not, you enjoy your immediate family, and just be thankful for what you have. We have a great little community, and things could be a lot worse. So thanks.
Rob Van Egan.
Two really quick things. One, Bob Finley actually made me think about it. I just wanted to say I was able to take my World War II veteran grandfather out for lunch on Veterans Day. And I mean, I'm love to be able to do that. He wears his, World War II Navy hat that I got him everywhere. And he's, that generation, but all veterans. I thank especially with what they're, there's enough for them to deal with, and what's happening now has got to be extra tough. So I want to thank all the veterans, those who have served. Thank you. I also want to say, along the lines of how screwed up our holiday season is going to be. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, Team Inc. runs Toys for Kids, not to be confused with trademarked Toys for Tots ever. The Toys for Kids, that goes specifically to families in the Valley, including Seymour, more than I think most people realize. And they have just, I was having some conversations with my friend Dave Morgan, the director there. They have just been pummeled because fundraising has been, next to nothing. But these kids have been robbed of so much this year. You think of the kids who this would have been their first, first middle school, first high school experience, first so many things robbed this year. If I could implore everyone to just consider if you could do something, if you go to teaminc.org and look up the Toys for Kids, they're still doing everything they can. Dave has made some relationships with toy manufacturers, so he's going to be able to get toys at cost. So they are still going to try to do, we have some, Tom Backlick is somebody who, if anyone knows about the big pancake breakfast he used to do with Santa, that thing is massive, and we can't do that now. There were so many major events that would be done that would have contributed to this that won't happen. But because of some of the leveraging they're going to be able to do, any money that you can donate is going to go very, very far because they're going to be able to get toys at cost. And actually, I believe he was saying Chief Satowski is going to be getting the policemen together and doing some boot drives, and I'm sure more people are going to get on board. So I'd like to see if the town can try to support that, even if it's just pushing on our social media or something, that supporting teams Toys for Kids, so that we can try to give the families here, the kids, some sense of normalcy for Christmas. That would be my one Christmas wish. And other than that, everybody wear your masks, be safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge all the Seymour Middle Schools and the Seymour High School students who continue to pursue academic excellence during this pandemic, whether they're at home or in school, but now everybody's at home. They're continuing to strive under such stress. We as adults, it's affecting us, but like, you said, Rob, these are kids. These are supposed to be their first. This is their junior year. This is supposed to be their prom. Alana went for her driver's test, and how different it is now from everything. So I just wanted to acknowledge the Seymour Middle Schools and the Seymour High School students in pursuing their academics, and great for them. I'm so proud of them, and their teachers and the parents that are standing by them and helping them out. And absolutely, the town will put on its website about the Toys for Tots and the police chief. No, not Toys for Kids. Toys for Kids. Sorry. It just rolls off your tongue though. The Toys for Kids with team. We will definitely be holding a donation for their. Rob, see me. I will gladly give you a donation from my company for that as well. That is all I have. And please, please, please. I don't know. Some of you know that I am in quarantine as well until next Friday. So I've not been at town hall. Friday is my last day, get out of jail free card. So I'll be back in town hall on Monday. Please wear your mask. Please wash your hands. Please practice social distancing. And please be safe. Rich Bertula, do you have anything?
No, just stay safe, be well, happy Thanksgiving, and blessings to everyone.
Yeah. And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Pat, second by Chris Bowen. All right, everybody, all in favor?
Rory, everything's good?
Rory, anything? Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Everybody.
Tim, for
Take
coming.
care. Be well.